Good evening. You're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Hello. You're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Click the Livestream tab or watch us live on your smart TV. YouTube at WCEG Network. I am Celeste Giordano, your show host, along with my co-host, Sara. We're the Global Legacy and Wealth Building, and we'll be with you for the next hour. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG Network. And last but not least, our disclaimer, the topics and opinions are those of the show host and guest and not WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support, and thank you, WCEG Network, for this opportunity to serve this amazing community. Well, hello, Sara. How are you?
I'm great. I got lipstick on and everything.
Well, very good. Well, we have a very action-packed show here tonight. I can tell you that. We got a lot of shakers and movers, and they are moving in all different areas, and it's going to be a very positive hour. And our first guest that we have with us today is going to be Bronkar Lee, and he will be with us from 5 to 5:30, and then hopefully with no problem, because there's a lot of things going on in Haiti right now. We have Linda Schuler Gunter with us again with Love Him, Love Them. So before we get started, Sara, for our listeners, why don't you tell us the name of your company and what you do, please?
Sure. I am Sara Poe with Poe's Accounting Services. We are a full-service accounting office. We do bookkeeping, payroll, taxes, any little thing you need. Payroll, accounts receivable, invoicing. We can do all that for the small business because we like seeing the small business succeed.
Absolutely. And how can our listeners get a hold of you, Sara?
You can reach me at 770-545-8841 or SPOE at POECPAS.com.
Very good. And I'm Celeste Giordano with CelesteGiordano.com. I'm a master sales strategist and a business mentor, and I help business entrepreneurs, direct sales teams, and corporations exponentially increase sales and profit through lead generation, building relationships, and accountability. And I am very excited to be here tonight with WCEG Network, and we want to thank Penny Rogers, our founder and producer of this amazing radio show. And right now, I would love to introduce our first guest, who is Bronkar Lee. Hey, Bronkar, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're so glad to have you here. And I met Bronkar at Spire Network, I believe it was the last Thursday, I think it was. And one of the immediately, Bronkar and I connected because he's into music. He plays a bunch of instruments, and I'm going to read his bio in a minute. But just an amazing guy, and we had a long chat afterwards and just really connected with Bronkar. And the person with the Spire Network we had on the show a few weeks back, Sara, was Bill Courtwright, and Bronkar is on the leadership team there. So it was an amazing event. But I'd love to read Bronkar's bio. And today's guest is a keynote speaker, a personal development coach, musician, and entertainer. He's been on The Tonight Show. How about that?
Cool.
He starred in a Super Bowl commercial. Oh my goodness, we're not worthy, Bronkar. And has a viral video with his son that received over 300 million views. Please welcome my friend, Bronkar Lee, AKA the Good Stuff Guy. Bronkar, thank you so much for joining us here today. I know I didn't say everything, but if you would like to share a little bit more with the audience about you, we would love for you to do that right now.
Absolutely. It's great to be here, like I said. So I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. I have two young boys, 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And an amazing wife, and I'm grateful every day I wake up. I I take my deep breath in and then I exhale with the sound of opportunity, as I am consciously every day searching for the opportunities in life and coming across amazing human beings like yourself. It's just always such a delight to have the opportunity to dialogue with people like you, and hopefully something I say today will resonate with a listener out there, and we'll end up working together at some point. So it's great to be here.
Absolutely. And so we have a great show lined up, and we have some great questions for you. And then just maybe, Sara, we might get Bronkar to play some music for us to close this portion of the show out. I'm not promising anything, but we'll just wait and see. So Bronkar, the first question I have for you is using music to unite and empower. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so one of my personal missions is to spread the good word of music in the world. I think in our current society, we do use music to a degree. Certainly, we use it in certain contexts that are, can really uplift people in a church setting or a spiritual setting, to set the tone, or for a conference or something like that. But it's such an underutilized tool in our society, I believe. And so what I like to do is consciously engineer music to where we can use it as a tool to set the tone for our day. We look at the day as morning, noon, and night. How can we open our day with music that inspires us, that gets us focused on the things that matter, that get us in a service mindset, a contribution mindset, a personal development mindset? How do we use music in the afternoon to pick us up, to energize us? How do we use music to cool down at the end of the day and transition so that we can truly relax? And so that's been my big mission, is using it as a tool to empower other people. But also my experience with music was when I was a teenager. I was a very angsty teenager, and I was in a very dark place, as many of us are as teenagers. And I discovered the drums. And when I discovered the drums, it gave me this amazing outlet to channel all of my angsty energy into. And through that process, I discovered this therapeutic release that helped me reduce my anxiety, feel more confidence, just get that out there. And so my mission became sharing that with other people and giving them a channel to plug into, and using music as a therapeutic tool. Since then, I have grown and evolved and had amazing mentors, and I've used it in my keynote presentations and my coaching programs as purely an entertainer. And at this point, I've done over 5,000 live shows. So I'm very much using it on a regular basis on the stage to inspire, lots of people.
Oh,
And music is, you can hear a song and go back 30 years in time, right? Music is such a connector and has so many memories attached to it, good and bad, right? You can have a song that your grandmother loved, or, I just hear Amazing Grace, and that just does wonders for me. But it's amazing what music can do for you in that regard.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I was going to say also, it's funny that you mentioned music that your grandma listened to, mm-hmm. And it was at the event that Celeste and I met at. I actually played Amazing Grace on the saxophone. So that's a very powerful piece of music. But my grandma, when I was a kid, I was about 5 years old, and I have a very specific memory of watching the Andy Griffith Show with my grandma. And the theme song from the Andy Griffith Show, if you remember it, it probably just came into your head right away. I don't even need to whistle it, but the Andy Griffith Show, that theme song, I remembered specifically one day, my grandma and I went to the grocery store after that, and she was humming that song. And a few minutes later, I heard someone on the other side of the store humming that song. And I thought, oh, they've been listening to the Andy Griffith Show too, or watching the Andy Griffith Show too. And then I realized, no, they heard my grandma humming it a few minutes earlier, and it was stuck in their heads. And in that moment, they had a smile on their faces. They were humming it. And it made me really think, how cool is that we can hum something, somebody else can get it in their head, and then they can start to feel it, to live it. And in that moment, I made a decision at 5 years old that that's what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to sing music that inspired other people. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew that that was what I wanted to do. My grandma set that tone for me at a young age, and I knew in that moment that I want to write music and sing music that's going to bring out the best in other human beings.
Oh, that's amazing.
Absolutely. So Bronkar, let me ask you this other question here. So you and I were talking, I guess it was yesterday. It was on Monday. We were talking for a good while, and we were talking about how children relate to music with that. Not only adults, like the example you just gave, but children. And so how does that work with you, where you work and minister with children?
Yeah. So music is so powerful. We use it, and I'll get to the direct answer of your question here. But we use it for, coming into the world. We use it to celebrate birthdays. We use it to release people at funerals. We use it in ceremony. We use it in, weddings. We use it for all of these monumental moments in our lives because it anchors in those moments. And so it is so powerful. And to answer your question, working with kids, all human beings are not necessarily trained musicians, but we are every single person walking the planet is hardwired for music, is hardwired for rhythm. We walk in rhythm, we talk in rhythm, we breathe in rhythm. We all have heartbeats in rhythm. Life is music and life is rhythm. And so when I work with people, kids, adults, anybody in between, it's all about reminding people that they have a rhythm within them and to tap into that inner rhythm and allow that to come out in an expressive form. And unfortunately, there's a lot of musical training that happens where most people probably listening right now took music when they were a kid. And chances are a lot of people listening right now had a music teacher that said, oh, you're not naturally gifted, or you're not naturally good at piano, or you should never sing again. You're just, And so oftentimes, right, many people are resonating with that. Many times we hear this. I certainly heard this from many different music teachers. And then I realized that I was giving them all the power. And it was like, well, hold on. That person isn't to decide how I connect with music, how I connect with my rhythm, because my rhythm is different than theirs. And so once I became an adult and I got over that, I started teaching music in a very intuitive way to young adults and to kids, including my two boys, who are both very musical because they've been around it. They speak the language naturally because they've been exposed to it. They sit down at the piano every day and just noodle around and play around. And so it is just simply, a piano is another tool that we can use, right, to express ourselves with. And so I like to take a very intuitive approach, coming in with the assumption and the anticipation that every human being has that rhythm within them. And it's my job as a coach or a teacher or a facilitator to simply liberate them and bring it out of them.
Yeah, I was at a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and the DJ started playing and just the music, and you could see depending on the music or the song, the different age groups, right? They would get up and they would start dancing, and then the kids would look at them like, that's my grandmother. What is she doing? But it was so much fun to see the energy in the room with the music, right? It just fed you and kept you engaged. And then when there was music you didn't know, you just kept on dancing. Yeah.
I believe there was just a quick note on that, and then back to you, Celeste. But I believe the documentary was called Alive Inside. And it was a documentary that was made about people with Alzheimer's and dementia. And they would play specific types of music for them that were from an era when they were, younger, 20 or 30 years old. they would play music from them, and you could see these people just light up. I mean, they connected with that music. It was like a switch just flipped on, and they became alive again. And it just has that power. We anchored those vibrations, those sounds, those inflections into our being and every fiber in our body.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Celeste, but yeah, I was going to tell you, my father has Alzheimer's, and he gets agitated at times. And one of the best things to calm him down is music from his time period.
Bingo.
Yep, absolutely. And my father, he passed away and had dementia. But one of the things that in the last few months of his life, he was like stuck in the time of being in his 20s or 30s, and the music and talk. He loved to do the swing dance with the swing music and going to the beach at Myrtle Beach. And he would talk about that over and over again. So that's great. Sara, do you have some questions for Bronkar, please?
Yeah, so managing and mastering ADHD with music. Tell me about that. Because I need all the help I can get.
Many of us do. Yeah, so I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was a kid, and that was definitely a challenge with our, the way our current educational system's set up to sit in a chair for 6, 7, 8 hours a day. It was very, very challenging for me, and we experimented with a lot of different types of drugs to help. When I was in high school, we saw therapists and things like that. And then my mom just realized this isn't him. This isn't he isn't being himself when he's on this. I can't remember what all Ritalin or whatever was at the time being prescribed, but.
Right.
And it was suffocating. It was almost like suffocating my soul of who I was. And so we broke out of that, and I struggled for a while, but then learning that there are different types of music that actually will set a tone for me to focus, to read, to study, to relax. Just as we would use music to stimulate, if we're going to go to the gym or go for a run or a bike ride, we would put a piece of music on to catalyze that energy to get us up. Well, there's also types of music that can soothe, that can relax, that can help us focus. And so for me, once I discovered the power of different types of music, different genres of music, different styles of music, then I was able to really use it as a tool, much like I was referring to earlier as beginning, middle, and end, or the morning, noon, and night of our days. The way we manage our energy cycles, just like we would with eating, like, how much food we eat for breakfast, when do we eat our biggest meals of the day or smaller meals, depending on what our activities are. Are we using caffeine? Are we not using caffeine? How much? And then understanding the cycle of, digesting that caffeine and how long it'll run through our system before we are going to crash. The same thing is to look at these energy cycles of our days and the patterns, the rhythms, the routines, the music of our lives, and to match that with different types of music that can amplify or enhance those natural energy patterns or cycles. And so using music, some people can't read with music on, or can't sleep with music on, and some people can. And so having that internal self-awareness is what I discovered in myself, and I also help coach other people to discover what works for them. But certain types of music will actually allow me to get in that more kind of meditative mindset to where I can slow down, I can chill out, and I can actually read a book. So, and still at 42 years old, sometimes I need a little assistance to manage that. And I've also found that with ADHD, it's a blessing and a curse. And whereas it is a curse in certain aspects of our lives, when we can learn to harness it, we can actually have this hyper sense of focus. And that's been something that I've really learned to master within myself through different outlets, including music, specifically drumming, or juggling, or different activities that require just a little bit of brain power, not too much. I'm not crunching numbers. I'm not doing, high level calculus or anything, just enough to get me focused on something, just enough to get me focused to where my mind can slow down a little bit, and then I can really be in the pocket, and that can really harness that busy brain that a lot of us ADHDers have.
The brain that keeps us up all night.
Yeah.
Unless you have a good evening routine to cool down with. And that's something that I have worked really hard on mastering as well.
Well, and Bronkar, you and I were talking yesterday, and we were talking, as Sara was saying, with dementia and Alzheimer's, and we were talking about children that are autistic and how they could relate to music. I mean, there's so many different avenues, and I was sharing the experience of my very dear friend out in California. Her two sons, Toby and Yona. We were in a Greek restaurant and they had music playing in there, and those little kids, they were probably 4 at the time, they're twins, and they were just dancing to the music of that. And everybody, and this was a high-end restaurant on Malibu, right on the ocean right there. And they were just looking, but those kids could just get into that music, and they were in their chair. They're standing up in the back of the seats of where we were sitting at the tables, and they were dancing and really getting into this. And it was a big smile on their face and everything. It was just amazing.
Yeah. I had an experience, Celeste, and I shared this with you years ago when I was performing assembly shows for young adults. I was in an assembly show, and there were about 800 students there, and I was playing my drum, and all of a sudden, this young kid that was 8 or 9 years old just stood up and came on stage with me and started dancing. Like, I'm talking about cutting a rug. He was in it, like fearless. And we ended the song on rhythm together with like a pose. The audience went nuts. The energy was through the roof. And then after the show, the assembly show, one of the counselors came up to me and said, "I don't know what just happened, but that particular student, I've been here for 3 years, and that student has never talked. That student never expresses themselves, nothing." And all of a sudden, that person just lit up, jumped up in front of 800 people, and cut a rug. And that is what can happen when we use music. It can really unlock something from within us, and it is hard to quantify and hard to measure, but it is definitely there.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So, and the way that you use this music as well, as we're getting towards the end of the hour here, we have about 7 minutes, Bronkar, is not only in children, but in adults, because, you talked about how, you use this in personal development and coaching with people. So obviously you use this in adults as well, and people that don't have an illness or a kind of challenge.
Yeah, so I do use it in a lot of my facilitation with my coaching programs and things, and I use it to really set a tone. Whenever we're coming to a session, we're all coming from different places. Maybe somebody just got out of the car and they were in rush hour traffic. Maybe somebody came from, just teaching, kids all day, or they just came from some heightened situation. Or maybe somebody's feeling uninspired and they're low energy. Regardless of where they're coming from, the power of music can instantaneously change our state. And so I open a lot of my coaching sessions with music. I also, close a lot of them with it, but I use it as a container to where I will create music in the moment, and then I'll actually do some guided narration, a visualization exercise or something to basically bring people to the present moment, to get them to think about the things that they want to be thinking about. In other words, in life, we're going to get the answers to the questions that we ask of life. And so the key is to ask better questions. That's to ask better questions of other people, to ask better questions of ourselves. It's just like if you open a browser on your computer, whatever you type into that search engine, you're going to get the answer to that question that you put in there. The same thing happens for ourselves as individuals. When we are asking ourselves, whatever the question is, we are going to find the answer to that. So I use music to basically get to this space where we can get out of our own way. It becomes a container to where then we can ask these questions of ourselves. What are we wanting to focus on? How are we wanting to serve? How can we strengthen ourselves? How can we contribute to society in a greater way? How can we spread more good stuff in the world, which is my whole brand, Spread the Good Stuff. And so when we can use music as that container, it sets that tone for us. It brings us right to that present moment. You can't avoid it. When that sound is there, it brings you right to that moment. And so I use that all the time in my coaching programs and my concerts and my keynotes and everything in between. Even the way I parent, I use music all the time to soothe my boys, to stimulate my boys, to set that tone all the time, every single day.
Absolutely. That is wonderful. We have about 4 minutes, and this last question, I want to make sure our audience knows how to get a hold of you, a website, or any information. But how can we spread the good stuff every day, Bronkar?
That's a great question. So Spread the Good Stuff is my company, and the call to action, if anything that I've said resonates with the listeners here, please visit. We're old school. We've got spreadthegoodstuff.com. So it's an actual website. So spreadthegoodstuff.com, and there's lots of free resources there, different things to help you master your morning or help you master your evening, and lots of music on there. And I'll actually play a little bit of music here in a moment for you, so you can see a little bit of my style or experience a little bit of my style. So that's the best way to get in touch with us. And I'm very accessible through the website. I love connecting with new people, and there's lots of ways to get involved. And then as far as how individuals can spread the good stuff themselves, it's really every day is an opportunity. And the way that I open every single day is the first thing I do is when I wake up in the morning, I take opportunity breaths. And I literally take a deep breath in,
yes,
and I breathe out the word opportunity. And you can do it literally right now in this moment. You can take a breath in, and then you can just say opportunity. Yeah. And so what we're doing there is we're consciously telling our mind to search for the opportunity. And as we say that, then we start to look for the opportunity. Like right now, even just that word opportunity, everybody that hears that word is searching for an opportunity of some kind. And so every moment is an opportunity to spread good stuff. It could be you're walking out of the coffee shop and you hold the door for someone. This happened to me just a couple days ago. I stopped, I went back, opened the door, and the lady stopped and she was like, "I can't believe you just did that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I just held the door for you." But it was literally a door of opportunity. And there are doors of opportunity everywhere for us. And it could be just taking that moment and smiling at someone, waving at someone, letting someone come in front of you when you're in traffic. Any of these small, seemingly insignificant moments can transform somebody's life. We don't know what that echo effect is, that ripple effect, or that domino effect is, but we know, just like my grandma who was singing the Andy Griffith song, right? That song was in that person's head. And ultimately, what defines us as people, as human beings, is not what we think we are. It's the music and the feeling that is in other people's heads and hearts long after we've left the room. And that is the good stuff.
Absolutely, Bronkar. Now we have about 1 minute, and to close this session out, Bronkar, I want to make sure you're going to share some original music, your original music with us. And just why don't you lead us in a closing little sample of what the good stuff is all about, if you would, please.
All right, here's a little sample of one of my many instruments. It's called a hand pan, and it sounds like this.
Man, that is awesome, Bronkar. I have never heard anything like that. Can you get every morning call me and just play that for me?
Yeah. There's actually an entire album of that music, instrumental handpan music. If you go to spreadthegoodstuff.com and get involved with our community, I've got a full album that I give people. I've got tons of this. I've got literally like 30 albums of handpan music and flutes and sax and all kinds of stuff. So yes, I've got that for you, Celeste. I will make sure I get a couple albums your way so you can start your day with some handpan.
Well, Bronkar, on behalf of Sara Poe and the WCEG community, thank you so much for sharing with our listeners and audience about spreading the good stuff, because in today, not only every day, but especially today, we need to spread more of the good stuff. Don't you agree, Sara?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. What a joy. I mean, you have just uplifted all of us. You've uplifted our community. So, Bronkar, our hearts love your hearts. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an honor being here. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I anytime I get to spend a few minutes with delightful and inspiring human beings like y'all, I take that as a beautiful, beautiful opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it, Bronkar. And if you would, in the chat, please put your information so we can put it out there as well of where they can get a hold of you, please. You have a blessed evening. Say hello to the wife and the family. Okay.
Likewise.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. All right, Sara. Well, that kicked us off really positive, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
It really did.
You don't always realize how much music affects your life, right? You go with the flow. So we need to send Linda some good music.
Absolutely. And he opened up their networking with this music. He does that. And then he closes the meeting with the music at this networking. And it was just amazing because it does set the tone. Mm-hmm. Now, before we bring on our next guest, just a real quick thing. You're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEG Talk Radio. You can watch us live on your smart TV, your YouTube at WCEG Network. And the next guest we have is not new to this show. She's been on our show, I think, a couple of times, and very excited to have Linda Schuler Gunter with us. And her husband are the founders of Love Him, Love Them. It's a nonprofit organization and that they founded. And I'm going to let Linda tell all about it because they're also in Haiti. They have a hospital, they have a school, and there's all kinds of, just not good stuff going on in Haiti right now. And we've asked Linda to come on tonight to share, to give our listeners and our community an update about Haiti. But also we have Thanksgiving coming up, and to give our listeners an update about all the fantastic things that they're doing up there in Livonia, Georgia, and North Georgia. And Sara, how our nonprofit, Women of Community Impact, is a sponsor for a second year with them. So without further ado, Linda, welcome to the show again. We're glad to have you. And
what a great person to follow, huh? I'd say he plays the music for us while we talk.
Absolutely. And I know that you have had your hands full lately, a lot of stuff going on. But before we get started, just tell a little bit about yourself and the Love Him, Love Them, because we have about 26 minutes. So just so for our audience and our listeners to know about Love Him, Love Them, please.
Sure. So my name's Linda Gunter, and I have absolutely no desire whatsoever to spread the good news or to spread the good anything or to do anything in ministry. That was not anywhere in my line of plans for my life. But God had a whole different plan. And basically, that whole story is in a book called Peanut Butter Crackers and Flip Flops. And that is available anywhere that books are sold. You can get that. But basically, to make a very long story short, my very best friend was tragically taken from this earth. And when she left behind 5 children. And those 5 children just happened to be Haitian. And those 5 children ended up living with me on the 17th day of the 7th month of the year 2007 in a little bitty town in Northeast Georgia. And it just so happened that those children were Haitian. And because of that, that is what instigated our very first trip to Haiti. And so we not only serve widows and orphans in Northeast Georgia, but we also serve widows and orphans in the country of Haiti. And so what started off as one trip to Haiti for us to see where they came from, here we are 11 years later, and we now have 6 different locations, and we're responsible for 5,000 children a day. We opened up a hospital last year when everybody was shutting everything down in the middle of a global pandemic last August the 29th. And I don't know how much you follow Haiti, but just in the last 90 days, on July the 27th, the president of Haiti was assassinated. Then 30 days later, on August the 14th, they had a 7.2 magnitude earthquake. And then since August 14th, the entire country has been taken over and is being run by gangs. So a little difficult to spread anything, good news, bad news, or anything right now. Many people are aware because in the beginning, it's been 30 days now, but in the beginning, the news networks were covering that 16 Americans and 1 Canadian were kidnapped in Haiti. They sent the FBI down, they've sent the Marines down, and even though it's only an island of 120 miles, nobody's been able to find those 17 people. And that same gang that is holding those 17 people, it's the 400 Mawazi gang. Mommy Linda has been in negotiations with that gang for the past 6 weeks. So I'll tell you, for a little girl who just wanted to bring Jesus and jobs to Haiti, we're dealing with a lot more than we had ever anticipated, right? So
Right.
good news is Thanksgiving is just around the corner, right?
Absolutely. So tell us what is actually happening in Haiti right now.
What is actually happening in Haiti at this specific moment is it's a hot mess. It's complete lawlessness. The country is being run by 19 main gangs, which makes it very difficult for someone like us that has 6 locations, because even if you come to an agreement with one gang, if you have to move to the next location, you got to deal with somebody else. Now we're dealing with rogue gangs that are realizing that since there is no law, there are no police. I know that the U.S. government said they just sent $15 million down to fund the national police in Haiti, which to all of us who work there realize what a joke that is, because there is no police force. We have no food, we have no water, we have no fuel. And if you can find fuel, it's $25 a gallon. So for all of us that are complaining about our $3 gas and $3.50 gas, at least you can still get it here in America. And the other thing is that in Haiti, gasoline's a little bit bigger of a deal because, for example, that's why we've had 40 different hospitals shut down in the last 2 weeks. Because if you don't have fuel, you don't have electricity because you can't run your generators. So that means people that are coming in for medical care can't get it. So it's an extremely challenging situation at this moment. And probably the most challenging part of it is for our kids. Who are sitting in lockdown in the orphanages and can literally hear the gunshots from the gangs right outside of their windows. So it's we are literally and truly at a point where we know that only God, as we say in Haiti, Selma bon Dieu capable face, only God can take care of this. And, we need a miracle. We need a miracle on several fronts. We have our last American in Haiti that just made it here to the States on Saturday. She's in need of a miracle. I'm sitting in the hospital right now in Northeast Georgia, and she's right around the corner from me in a room. She's been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And basically, we've been told that barring a miracle, she won't be here by the end of the year. But you know what the great news is I know the miracle worker. I know who works miracles. And so that's the great part. And Celeste, one of the main reasons I wanted to take the time out from everything that's going on right now is I wanted to give people that listen to your show an opportunity to be a part of miracles next week. We're just short of 10 days from Thanksgiving, and Love Him, Love Them will be feeding 3,000 homeless, hopeless, and homebound individuals next week. We will not only be bringing them a Thanksgiving meal, but we will also be bringing them whatever they need. So we have people in Northeast Georgia that need all sorts of things. And when you're homeless and you don't have the family, you could need anything from a home to laundry detergent to additional food from that actual meal. And all of those things are being collected right now as we speak And so it's just a great opportunity for you. I know as a mom, when I first took in those 5 children, Celeste, my first Thanksgiving, I cooked for 5 days, and those little snotty-nosed kids came downstairs and ate the dinner for 5 minutes, and then they were all gone. And I was like, oh, no, we're not doing it this way. And so this is our 12th year delivering Thanksgiving meals, and it literally started from around our dining room table. And that first day, that first Thanksgiving, when they all disappeared, I literally went out in the garage and got some to-go boxes and came back in and put all the leftovers in as meals, ended up with 15 meals of leftovers. And I called everybody back down and I said, we're just going to get in the car and we're going to drive around until we find somebody who is not eating a Thanksgiving meal. And, it didn't take very long.
No, it doesn't.
So here we are 12 years later, and we have gone from 15 meals to 3,000 meals. And the stories that come in, Celeste, from the volunteers that get the opportunity to deliver are heart-wrenching. I mean, once you've delivered meals with Love Him, Love Them for Thanksgiving, you don't want to go back to anything. Oh, it's a brand new tradition.
You're so right about that. I remember last year was our first time up there, and you had a volunteer day. And so what we did is we turned it into a youth, I'm tongue-tied this morning. Youth initiative, where some families could bring their children and serve during the volunteer day, whether they were putting cranberry sauce in little containers, organizing, like you say, laundry detergent or coats or shoes, or they were, writing on the
to-go plate.
The to-go place, the styrofoam, Love Him, Love Them. And it was just a great thing to see all the children involved. And we're not talking like 2 or 3 children at this place where you guys host this every year. What a blessing that place is. I mean, that whole area, it's a school, was just full of volunteers and children from very little to teenagers, and loving every minute of it. I mean, it was such a blessing.
Yeah, because everything our organization does, I'm a volunteer, I don't get a penny. So everything we do really started from our family. So it's just the ways that we've served. And, I find that a lot of moms want to do different things, but may not have the ability or the means to be able to put together events like this. And so one of the big parts of our mission statement for Love Him, Love Them is that we provide opportunities for you to love Him and love them. And this Thanksgiving is one. And, really from Northeast Georgia, to be able to offer in the week of Thanksgiving an international and a local mission opportunity, when right now it's difficult to go out of the country and do these, because on that it is an all-week thing. Tuesday night at 6:30, we start our orientation. That's when everybody comes and gets their T-shirts. Wednesday, we have the volunteer time. Thursday, we have the delivery. Friday, we go home and take a shower. And then Saturday, we will be packing 20,000 meals of rice and beans that will go to our specific orphanages and our children in our churches and our schools in Haiti. And that is an event in and of itself. But we always encourage you to bring your family. That's how our ministry was built, was around our family. And we want families to serve together. We know that we can see the difference. Like your last guest was talking about spreading the good. There's no better way to start spreading the good than with a young child, because now when they grow up, it's not about what am I getting for Christmas? What am I doing for Thanksgiving? It's how are we helping others? Because that's the way they were raised.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sarah, you got some questions, please.
Yeah. I'm taking one just right out of the air, right? So you've got all this stuff going on in Haiti, right? And you're getting ready to pack all these meals for them.
Right.
Will they be able to get it?
Yes. So would
the kids in Haiti be able to get it?
Yes. So we just shipped a container down about 4 weeks ago. As you know, I mentioned there was an earthquake in Haiti on August the 14th. And so we filled a container full of medical supply, everything they asked for, medical supplies, earthquake relief, tents, tarps. And so, bam, I mean, as soon as you pack it, it goes, we have volunteers that pack it. We have volunteers that donate everything. We have volunteers that drive it down to Miami, and then it gets on the ocean and goes over. And unlike our ports here in America, there are not a lot of shipping containers waiting to go into Haiti. And so then we were able to take it out. Now, we did run into some snags with the gangs. But, you know, the great part about, we've been in Haiti for 12 years now, so we have connections, right? So we were actually able to place our container at Samaritan's Purse. We partner with them. We'll deliver 35,000 of their Christmas shoeboxes this year. And what we've been doing is we've been unloading that container piece by piece. So we also, for our food, Sarah, that will go over through Feed the Hunger. That's one of our main partners for food in Haiti. And so we know people that know people that know people where they need to know people, and that's how we get it out. We did have a 4-day stench when these gangs first took over that we weren't able to get food out. And I will tell you, we were using our ambulance. And so when the gangs first approached us in Haiti, they literally came and said that if we didn't put them on our payroll, they were going to burn our hospital down. And when that message, they said, you know, you need to tell Mommy Linda, that's what we're going to do. And when Mommy Linda found out, I basically said, I'm going to come over there and sit down with your mama, and we're going to talk about this and get you boys straightened out. That was until I realized the power and the size guns they had. But in the midst of us attempting to negotiate with these gangs, we had still been using our ambulance to get food back and forth to the children. And all of a sudden, we came out one day with the ambulance full of food. We were in a lineup of 5 different vehicles, and the gangs made a stop right there in Quatibouquet, and they pulled all 5 vehicles over, pulled the drivers out, shot and killed them, and then confiscated the vehicles. And when they got to our ambulance, the gang member, now I want you to know, first of all, we have a 24-hour prayer team. And for Thanksgiving, that's another thing you can volunteer for. We will have 24 hours of prayer, the 24 hours leading up to Thanksgiving, Wednesday at 12 to Thursday at 12. And just to show you how prayer works, the gang member that happened to pull our driver out of our ambulance, his eyes met with the driver, and he realized it was someone he had gone to school with. And instead of shooting and killing him, he took him and threw him in the ditch and told him to run. So God protected Eddie, that driver that we had that day. They did take our ambulance. We did end up getting it back. But we know the miracle worker. And so it is prayer and faith and believing that is going to get us through. But absolutely, we will get that food to them.
Well, I'm proud of you, because a lot of people would look at those obstacles and just turn around and walk away.
A lot of people have. A lot of people have. There's many ministries in Haiti that have shut their doors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. My church has a sister church in Haiti, and it is not going very well at the moment. And the priest would actually come over twice a year. We would collect money, and he'd come to the United States twice a year. We would hand the money to him because it had been stolen a few times.
Oh yeah. It's a hot mess. That is true.
But it says a lot about you and your faith and your children and your family that you're doing this.
Right. Well, the bottom line is, if we close down tomorrow, Sarah, what would we do? There is no government. So what do you do with 5,000 children? Are you just going to say, okay, sorry, can't feed you anymore, can't provide you medical care, sorry, you can't go to school, Mommy Linda tried, but I couldn't? I mean, I don't have an option. So my option is to know that God called me to this. He placed me in this position, and I will continue to fight for them. And we will there's many, 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 many stories in the Bible. I just read about Peter earlier today. Peter was in jail, and an angel of the Lord came, broke him out of jail, walked him out through 2 guards, made him invisible. I mean, there is a supernatural world there, and the Holy Spirit is extremely powerful. So gangs are evil. And the same way that Haiti is dealing with evil right now through this gang activity, we all have to participate in that on a daily basis. The bottom line is, we're all in a battle. We just have to make the decision whether or not we're going to fight.
That's very true. Very true.
Absolutely. So, Linda, how will Love Him, Love Them help children for Christmas in Haiti this year?
So we're going to do the same thing we always do, and that is our Christmas joy bags. So I told you earlier, we will be distributing 35,000 Christmas shoeboxes. But there are many places due to the requirements of Samaritan's Purse that those shoe boxes do not go. So what we do is we have you take a gallon bag, just like what you put your stuff in the freezer in, and you can fill up those bags. We do them for little girls, little boys, big girls, and big boys. And they each have a color that's indicative of that. And so normally we have an entire mission team, because, that was the very first time my family went to Haiti was at Christmas. And we went to take Christmas to an orphanage that we now run. And so then that team normally takes those gifts over. Due to the current circumstances, those bags will be shipped over. But all the information for those Christmas joy bags is on our website at lovehimlovethem.org. And if you just put in the search Christmas joy bags. And so that's the same way that they've always anticipated and expected Christmas, they will still get it this year.
Very good. That's great. Now, I don't mean to jump back to Thanksgiving, but I know that, Sara, that our Women of Community Impact, we are doing a fundraising, a donation for Love Him, Love Them. We've committed to raise $600 for Love Him, Love Them. And if you could put the PayPal link in the chat, or either, say that, I'd greatly appreciate that. And the other thing is that the Women of Community Impact will come up there on Christmas Day. I don't want to go a rundown like you have people working all night cooking those turkeys starting at 8:00 that night. You've got the 24-hour prayer teams, and then the people that come that work with you in this life will come up there. I think we got up there 7:30, 8:00 on Thanksgiving morning, and so we're going to deliver 55 meals to Gwinnett's Children's Shelter for women and children.
That's awesome.
And it is. And thanks to you, we Love Him, Love Them. We're very, very grateful that the Women of Community Impact can come get those meals and bring it back to Gwinnett Children's Shelter for the women and children, because they maybe don't have families, or they don't have families, and to have a nice Thanksgiving meal on behalf of both of our nonprofits. We also we're partnering with Beyond the Ribbon with,
Bobby.
Bobby, thank you. I don't know, my brain is just freezing here. Internet problems. Mine's an internet brain problem here. With Bobby Minnick with Beyond the Ribbon, and we have committed to feed 40 families with cancer that have cancer diagnostics of cancer.
Awesome.
And then we are also going to be, we're waiting on the numbers, Linda, is the new Northside Hospital in Gwinnett County. We're going to be feeding the ER doctors and nurses there at the hospital, our frontline heroes. So, the Women in Community Impact is very privileged and honored to have this relationship with Love Him, Love Them that allows us to go up to North Georgia and bring back these meals into Gwinnett County. And it's awesome. It is a great opportunity.
So grateful to you to be able to spread that out. I foresee within the next 3 years that we will probably be doing 35,000 meals, and we will be going all over the state of Georgia. So we're very excited about that. And if you're a nonprofit, or if you're a mom or a family or a church or an organization that wants to partner with us to be able to make this happen, we would love to do that. We find that many people during Thanksgiving, Celeste, will do a meal that Sunday before, or do a meal that Saturday after. But what we found with Love Him, Love Them, and we see it through all of our volunteers that show up, is it's very important to go on the day. Because most suicides, depression, when everything sets in, is when you're on the day of the holiday and you realize, oh my gosh, I have nobody. Nobody cares about me. I'm not sitting down with my turkey. I'm not. And it's so very important to do it on that day. And you know what? What is the big deal for us who could? The fact of the matter is the volunteers that come and serve with us, they can celebrate Thanksgiving anytime they want. But
That's
for
right.
them to be able to go and minister to someone, love on someone. I mean, your guest previous was saying, open the door for somebody. Well, go take some turkey. We use the turkey. The turkey is really just the tool to get to the person, to give them a hug or give them a smile or encourage them or pray with them. The turkey is the tool. So we're just really grateful that you guys are doing that and making it all the way back down to Gwinnett. We've got some other people that are going all the way down as far as Fayetteville. So I really prophesied that what's going to happen is the whole state of Georgia, there won't be anybody that on the day of Thanksgiving won't have someone come and just give them some encouraging words along with a turkey, some turkey dressing.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you said the turkey is the tool, and what Bronkar said earlier. And then it's an opportunity for us to love him and love them, especially on Thanksgiving Day. Right.
Amen.
There.
That is very true.
Sarah, you've got a question for us, please.
How can families get in touch with you to serve?
So I'll just give you I normally have my number up here, but I don't have my computer and I'm not sure how to change it, but it's 706-599-7525. So if you want to text me, if you want to reach out to us on our website, lovehimlovethem.org. There's also a volunteer line. You can literally just text to the volunteer line. I want to help at Thanksgiving. That text number is 706-716-7525. And once you text in there and just say, I want to help at Thanksgiving, someone will reach back out to you. Or again, you can just reach out to us directly. So numerous ways you can get in touch with us. And again, we need volunteers all the way from Tuesday evening all the way through Saturday. So sometime during that week of Thanksgiving, we could certainly use you to help. And you know what? Also, Celeste, if you know someone who needs a meal on Thanksgiving, we'd love for you to reach out to us because we want to make sure that anyone that, some people are like, oh, what about the lady down the street or my next door neighbor? Or, I know a widow at the end of the road. Nobody's going to be with her. If you know somebody, do not hesitate to give us a text or call. We will make sure they get a meal.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, that we love the most about Love Him, Love Them is, you don't do this just occasionally on certain occasions. This is 365 days a year that Love Him, Love Them does this. And Linda, our heart just loves your heart. And we have been lifting you and the entire the people in Haiti. We've been praying for you guys, and we'll be praying for the Thanksgiving meal so that you'll be preparing to send over to Haiti, as well as feeding the people in North Georgia, as well as in Gwinnett County and Fayetteville and things of that nature. Sarah, is there anything you'd like to add to that, please?
Just bless you. And your volunteer who's back and who's not doing well, I send my love, prayers, and hugs because
her name is Phyllis. I wish I would have loved to have her on here. I tell you what, but she's a little bit shyer than me. But she can tell you stories. We were just in there with a few other people sharing with her, and just to hear her talk, especially from the American. She's 69 years old, and she is just a real trooper. She really is. And to think that she has, as we think, oh, I'm volunteering, but I mean, she's volunteered her life to stay there in that country to help. And that's where her heart is. That's where she wants to be right now. So we don't realize how, when we love him, how it enables us to love them. And to be very honest with you, that's where joy comes from. It's to help us to put Jesus first, others second, and ourselves last. And that's where the joy is.
Wow.
But we lift all of you up in prayer.
Absolutely. We lift you in prayer. And Linda, I know you're at the hospital right now, and thank you for taking this time to honor your commitment to be on this show. We look forward to serving with you next week as volunteers, also the day before, as well as on Thanksgiving Day. And I'll see what we can do to get some volunteers up there on Saturday to help pack the rice and beans for the containers. And our heart loves your heart. And thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate you.
You ladies, keep yourself. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
All right, we will. All right, we love you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And we just want to also just thank the WCEG community for taking the time to listen to Global Legacy Wealth Building.